Welcome back to the channel. Right now, the UK property market is under serious pressure. In today's video, we're going to break down why so many buyers are frustrated with the system, to the point where many are saying they wouldn't even want to go through the moving process again. We'll also look at what's really happening with evictions, especially the sharp rise in Section 21 activity, despite official claims suggesting otherwise. And finally, we'll talk about rents, including the government's consideration of rent controls and why that could create major problems. Whether you're a landlord or a tenant, this is something you need to understand, because the current situation in the UK housing market is becoming increasingly unstable. For those who don't know me, my name is Simon Zucchi. I've been involved in property investing for over 30 years, and for more than 2 decades, I've been teaching others how to succeed in this space. Honestly, I've never seen a time like this. So much regulation, so many rules, and so much bureaucracy, all creating significant challenges across the market. Let's start with the recent changes. The renters' reform measures officially came into effect on the 1st of May, and with that, Section 21 evictions have been removed. Landlords can still regain possession using Section 8 notices, whether it's due to rent arrears, antisocial behaviour, wanting to sell the property, or moving back in themselves. However, the key issue now is time. Every one of these cases goes through the court system, and right now, the courts are heavily backed up. That means delays are almost unavoidable. Now, there's been a lot of discussion around whether these changes would lead to more evictions. In Parliament, the Housing Minister stated that there wouldn't be an increase, referencing data from the Ministry of Justice. According to those figures, Section 21 cases reaching court between October and December 2025 were down by 17% compared to the same period the year before. But that doesn't tell the full story. Here's the reality. When a landlord serves a Section 21 notice, many tenants leave without the case ever going to court. Those situations don't show up in official court statistics. The numbers only reflect cases where tenants stay a choosing, the landlord is forced to take legal action. From conversations with experienced professionals in the field, including my colleague Paul Champlina, it's clear there's actually been a noticeable increase in landlords issuing Section 21 notices, especially leading up to the April 30th deadline. Many were trying to act before the rule changes took effect. Unfortunately, this has meant that even reliable tenants have been asked to leave, often because landlords are to sell, and this trend is likely to continue. Over the coming months, we're probably going to see more landlords exiting the market as they adjust to the new environment. Let's move on to rents. There are discussions suggesting that the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, is considering introducing rent caps. On the surface, that might sound like a way to help tenants, but there are some serious concerns. First, under the current rules, landlords are already limited. They can only increase rent once per year, and any increase has to reflect inflation and align with local market rates. Historically, many landlords didn't raise rents every year, but now that it's structured this way, it's quite possible more landlords will increase rents annually to keep up with inflation. The second issue is what we've already seen happen elsewhere. In Scotland, similar rent control measures were introduced. While they did protect tenants who were already in properties, they had unintended consequences. Landlords began significantly increasing rents on vacant properties before tenants moved in, knowing they wouldn't be able to adjust them later. This pushed average rents higher and reduced the availability of rental homes. So instead of solving the problem, it actually made things worse. It's frustrating because while these policies may be well-intentioned, they don't always reflect how the property market actually works in practice. Now let's talk about the buying and selling process itself, because that's another major issue. A recent survey by the Open Property Data Association looked at 5,000 recent homebuyers. The results were quite revealing. Around 2/3 said the experience was so stressful and difficult that they wouldn't want to go through it again. That's a serious problem. In the UK, the process of buying property is still very traditional and in many ways outdated. Typically, a seller lists their property with an estate agent. Buyers find it online, arrange viewings, and if they're interested, they make an offer. Once a price is agreed, the property is marked as sold subject to contract. From there, the buyer appoints a solicitor for the legal work and usually works with a mortgage broker to secure financing. Here's where things start to slow down. About 1 in 3 property transactions falls through, often because the buyer can't secure a mortgage. Because of that risk, solicitors tend to delay important work, like searches and legal checks, until the mortgage is confirmed. While that approach avoids wasted costs, it also adds significant time to the process. Once the mortgage offer is in place, the legal work begins. Searches are carried out, contracts are prepared, and both sides negotiate terms. Eventually, contracts are exchanged, at which point the buyer typically commits with a deposit, usually around 10%. Completion then follows shortly after, once funds are released. But the problem is coordination. There are 2 sets of solicitors involved, one for the buyer and one for the seller, and delays are common. Often each side blames the other, and there's very little transparency about where the holdup actually is. This lack of clarity and communication is a big reason why the process feels so frustrating. When I teach property investing, especially working with motivated sellers, I always emphasize the importance of staying in regular contact. Many sellers don't fully understand the process, so guiding them can make everything smoother and faster. In some cases, we even take a different approach, asking solicitors to begin searches immediately, rather than waiting for mortgage approval. By running multiple steps at the same time, instead of sequentially, the timeline can be significantly reduced. Most everyday buyers, however, aren't aware of these strategies. They rely entirely on professionals and often don't know what's happening behind the scenes. Now combine that with the current situation. More landlords putting properties on the market due to recent changes, and you end up with increased supply. At the same time, if buyer demand doesn't keep up, that creates opportunities. For those who understand the market, this could actually be a very good time to buy. More motivated sellers means more flexibility in negotiations, whether that's price reductions or creative deal structures like vendor finance or purchase options. So if you're in a position to invest, it's worth actively looking, making offers, and exploring what's available. To wrap up, I'd really like to hear your thoughts. What's your view on the UK property market right now? Are you planning to stay where you are, sell, or get involved? Leave your opinion in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates. Until next time, keep investing in your knowledge, keep building your skills, and I'll see you in the next video.